Everyone. I've got 11:30, so we're going to get started here with today's routine weekly briefing for Central North Carolina, covering the period today, the 18th of July to Wednesday, July 24th. My name is Gail Hartfield, Senior Forecaster here at the National Weather Service in Raleigh, and let's get started. All right, we've got a busy day today ahead of us, and actually a busy weekend and week as well. We'll start off with the risk of severe storms today. We do have a marginal to slight risk. That slight risk is in the yellow. That is level 2 out of 5 from the Storm Prediction Center. We have a cold front that will be coming in, approaching from the north and west, and that will out ahead of that, we've got some warm, very moist, unstable air. So that will help spawn some showers and storms today. We're expecting some pretty good coverage today. Our main threat with this is going to be this afternoon through mid-evening. And we're expecting a main threat of damaging winds. Large hail also cannot be ruled out. With this, so we're already now seeing some storms north of the border approaching Danville and Martinsville. Most of it, the activity thus far is in Virginia. That will be expanding eastward and southward into our northern sections over the next few hours. So folks in Roxborough, or areas north of Durham and extending into Oxford and Henderson are going to be the first, it looks like, to see some storms here in the next couple of hours. We also have a risk of excessive rainfall today. So that is going to be focused mainly in the east and especially in coastal sections. If you have any connections with anyone in the coastal areas of Virginia into North Carolina, that is going to be the target area for some pretty good chance of excessive rainfall. But that does leak into our eastern sections and including the Triangle area. So expecting that to be roughly the same time frame as the severe threat, maybe extending a little bit more into the evening hours, so 1 p.m. to midnight. We do have hot off the presses a flash flood watch, which we just issued for our northern sections. We're expecting clusters of storms today to produce some heavy rainfall. Totals of 1 to 3 inches are expected. And the rainfall rates, and that is the amount that falls in a shorter period of time, that could exceed 3 inches an hour as a rate. So, you know, if you do the math on that, if you have a rate of 3 inches an hour and that is going on for a half an hour, then you get an inch and a half of rain. So we do have, and I'll show this in a moment, we do have some wet soils and some creeks in that northern section, those northern sections that are running a little fast now because of the rainfall they've received in the last 24 hours. So, and I'll show you that in just a moment, but we may expand this. We're gonna look and see what the evolution of these showers and storms is. We may need to expand it southward into the Triangle, into the Rocky Mount, Wilson areas. But we're keeping our eye on it right now because that area didn't get a lot of rainfall yesterday, and soils are fairly dry and the creeks are low, so the threat is a little, right now looks a little lower in that, you know, Raleigh to Wilson, Rocky Mount area, but least-wise, we are continuing to keep an eye on it. So don't be surprised if you see an expansion of the flash flood watch, and definitely keep an eye out for your source of weather information. So you are prepared and you know what the latest and greatest is when it comes to that. So this is a promised here. I want to show you the 24-hour rainfall. So yeah, as you can see there across the north, especially in Granville County, northeastern Person County, and into Vance County, they had quite a bit of rain, 2 to 4 inches in that area, and that was a lot of the reason for us going ahead and issuing this flash flood watch across the north and northeast sections because of that heavy rainfall in the last day. So any additional heavy rain today may cause some additional problems and some flooding, and we are already seeing stream flows in that area are running fairly good right now, so running fairly high. So any additional rain on top of that we're expecting could be problematic. So again, keep an eye out on at weather.gov and check in on other sources of weather information that you check in on, and see if we might expand that flash flood watch out for a little bit larger area. Okay, so that's just today. So looking at the upcoming weather pattern, the bottom line is here. We're going to be in a wet pattern over the next several days. High rain chances today, again, especially across the north and east sections. This very warm and moist air ahead of the approaching cold front is going to ensure that, coupled with the fact we've got some heating, and that's going to help destabilize the atmosphere and help to prompt the showers and storms that we're expecting today. This front, and the map there on the top left shows the front like kind of in the between the triad and the triangle. We're kind of analyzing it a little further to the west than that. We think that this is more of what we call an outflow, that the actual large scale front is still back in the mountainous area. So the whole area is going to be in this kind of soupy air mass for the next several days as the front kind of just stalls out and lingers over the western and central Carolinas into the weekend. It is going to eventually wash out as we get later into the weekend. We're expecting this to wash out and kind of get shoved further back to the north and west. So that will put us squarely, as you can see in that bottom left image there. For Monday, we're in that solid green, which means a very high chance of rain, and it extends into Wednesday as well. So, you know, we're still looking at a drought, and I actually did not include the drought in today's slide, so sorry about that, but we're still in a drought condition here, and we will be getting an update on that today for this week. But just because you're in a drought doesn't mean you can't get flooding, and it might sound kind of strange, but when you have, you know, even you have creeks are running low, lakes are running low. If you get a lot of water, those places that normally flood are going to flood. And sometimes if you have really hard, dry soil, that even just further encourages the water to run right off. So it is still possible to get flooding rain and a drought. They can coexist. So yeah, so moving on, this wet period was going to continue, will continue through the early and middle part of next week. There's really no sign that this is going to change. As far as the temperatures go, warm and humid conditions are still in place today, but it's not as hot as it was earlier this week. You know, we had temperatures in the 90s, well in the 90s and 100s earlier this week. We're looking at a heat index of 100 and 104 possible across southern sections today. Pretty much in the 90s for heat index elsewhere. So it'll be humid, but not dangerously hot like we've seen earlier this week. You know, that said, we've had successive days of hot weather, and this humidity does tax people, especially if you don't have access to air conditioning. So obviously continue, if anyone working outdoors, continue to practice your safety rules. Watch out for people, watch out for each other, and know the signs of a heat illness so you can take care and get medical attention if you start seeing those symptoms. So then after today, we're still gonna stay in this pattern with maybe above normal cloud cover, definitely above normal precipitation chances for the next several days. So that will hold our temperatures down. So temperatures will actually be fairly seasonable, near to a couple degrees below normal through Tuesday. Okay, moving on to our severe thunderstorm potential for the next several days. Again, we've got that severe risk today, slight risk, a level 2 out of 5. And for much of our area, except for the southwest sections, are in a level 1 out of 5. But we're really keying on the area from the triangle area to the north and to the east today. Again, main threat, damaging winds, and could have a hail risk here this afternoon as well. But damaging winds definitely the primary threat with that. We are just in a general thunder outlook for tomorrow. Our better chances are going to be across the south and east tomorrow, but just general thunder is expected, nothing severe. As we get into Saturday, we are at a level 1 out of 5 once again for much of the area for that marginal risk of severe weather on Saturday. And looking at the end of the weekend and early and mid part of next week, nothing glaring that would show a high severe threat, but definitely a chance of thunderstorms expected each day. Here's our accumulated precipitation forecast for the next few days. You can see today's there on the top left there. and that's when we're going to see the lion's share of our rainfall, looking at that kind of purplish shade, so 1.5 to isolated 3 inches, but most of that's going to be in the coastal sections. But again, any isolated area could see a local heavy downpour. So we'll definitely be on the lookout for that, and definitely keep close on your phone and look out for any watches, any further expansion of the watch, or any warnings that we may issue today. As you go into Friday there, the chances do tend to focus more on the south. As I said, everywhere could see, we do have rain chances more scattered across the north and west, a little bit better high chance to likely across the south and east. And then again, it's a repeat show, reruns going on through the weekend. Chance of rain Saturday and Sunday. Again, nothing terribly heavy there expected, but another 1/2 to 1 inch. Locally higher amounts, of course, are possible in these thunderstorms. So pretty much the same kind of that 1/4 inch to 1 inch possible Saturday, Sunday, Monday, each of those days. And you see the 5-day total there. And our last slide here, the rainfall will be the 7-day rainfall. So you can see a lot of the areas looking at that kind of reddish shade into the orange. So anywhere from 2 to as much as 5 inches possible, even locally higher amounts than that. So definitely a wet period. So, and with the drought, that's maybe not a bad thing to have this rainfall, but we just don't need it all coming at once. Okay, here's again our excessive rainfall outlook for Thursday today through Saturday. Again, we've got that slight risk in the east today. For Friday, we've got the slight risk of shifting to the south and southeast sections, and just a marginal risk on that day 3, which is Saturday, and that is a marginal risk of heavy rainfall. So moving on to Sunday and Monday, it is the same story. We've got a marginal risk of marginal risk of excessive rainfall both of those days. So very busy wet pattern we're in now. The one thing that's not busy is the tropics. And it's, you know, we're still in that climatological part of the year where it can be busy, but we're not anywhere near the peak of activity yet. So it's not a giant surprise. We're in this large scale pattern that isn't real conducive for tropical cyclones to be numerous and popping up. So we're happy that it's quiet right now. No development is anticipated through the middle of next week, but you know, we will definitely not let our guard down. Okay, looking at the 8 to 14 day outlook, so next week, and this was updated yesterday, late yesterday, we do have a 33 to 40% chance of above normal. So just a little bit of a lean toward a higher probability of above normal temperatures next week. And same with the precipitation. We have a little bit decent chance of above normal precipitation during the next week period, the 2-week period. So if that comes to pass, we're looking at 2 weeks of some pretty good rainfall. So hopefully that will put a dent into the drought conditions. The temperatures you see there are for the middle part of next week, the normals for each of those locations. And one thing that's noteworthy is we are starting to head downward for our normals. We have reached the peak. Not to say it's not going to be hot the rest of the summer. We do have plenty of summer left to go, but as far as the normals go, we have already reached our climatological peak of the warmest time of year. So, you know, looking ahead to, we're on that downslide, so we're going to be looking forward hopefully to some of those little bit cooler temperatures. We have had plenty of heat this season already, so I think we could use a little relief from that. Here's our experimental graphical hazardous weather outlook, and you see a lot of the colors on the chiclets there. Again, this kind of corresponds to what I mentioned earlier. It's the slight risk of severe storms today and marginal risk for Saturday. Mainly a wind threat with that, with a smaller risk of hail. Lightning, just that those the red and the orange just basically tell you it's going to be a pretty good coverage of showers and storms. And any of these storms could produce excessive amounts of lightning. So, you know, if you have outdoor plans, definitely keep an eye on the sky. Keep an eye on the radar. If you've got, look at your favorite radar app and keep tabs and don't take a chance to go to a place of safety as soon as you first sound of thunder. The excessive rainfall, again, next couple of days is going to be pretty elevated, and then after that, limited but not zero. Definitely, we could see some heavy downpours anytime for the next few days. The excessive heat there is elevated. Again, that's just in patchy areas, mainly across the south, but nothing extremely hazardous. No, we're not seeing indications of any like excessive heat warnings needed over the next few days. And wrapping it up, our weather summary and expected impacts here. First, again, high rain chances today with the very warm and moist air ahead of that approaching cold front. And this front that will stall out and linger over the western and central Carolinas into the weekend. This wet period will continue into the early part of next week and probably beyond that. So get used to the gloomy skies because we'll probably see more of that than sunshine. Warm and humid conditions do continue today, not as hot as earlier this week, but those heat indices could be over 100 across the south, so take care. And then after today, temperatures will trend more seasonable, near to a couple degrees below normal through Tuesday. And yeah, as far as the hazards and impacts, as I mentioned, the severe storm risk is possible today, mainly east of the Triad. Damaging wind gusts over 60 miles an hour will be the primary threat, and with a secondary threat of large hail as well. And then again, remember, we've got that marginal risk of severe storms on Saturday as well. Heavy rainfall possible today and tonight, especially in the east where we have that slight risk of excessive rainfall. Flash flooding is possible, especially in urban and flood-prone locations, and smaller creeks may rise quickly and could cause flooding on nearby roads, areas of poor drainage, so watch out for that. And obviously keep an eye on your pets and your kids. Make sure children don't play in the swollen creeks because water levels could rise fairly quickly. And then that marginal to slight risk of heavy rainfall looks like it will persist into early next week. And you can see our forecast there across the bottom, a lot of lightning bolts and a lot of gray skies. So we'll be looking out for that for the next few days.